Hey, Topic Life Math and History, and we are going to take a look at the temperature and converting the temperature into different measurements, like Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. So, when you think of temperature, you probably think of...
Cold as crabs, keep this place anyway. 62 degrees! Oh, that cheapskate. I'm gonna set it to a toasty 63. Huh?
Who taught me thermostat?
Oh, thanks,
You're welcome, Squidward.
That is basically it. Temperature talks about how hot it is, or how cold something is. So we're going to understand 3 measurements that we're going to be used to convert. You probably know Fahrenheit and Celsius, but we're going to introduce a new kind of measurement, Kelvin. Kelvin is another measurement, and it's highly linked with Celsius. The thing is, we don't use a lot in Kelvin unless it's very, very high or it's very, very low in temperature. Like, you could have freezing temperatures and calculate Kelvin. Or if you calculate the temperature of the sun, for example, you might use Kelvin. It makes it a lot simpler. So we're going to try to understand how to transfer convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, Celsius to Fahrenheit, and Celsius to Kelvin. The reason why we're going to do this video is because it's very helpful to convert from one measurement to another. If you're traveling to another country, if you also have the wrong information and you need to convert it, and it's also a good idea to be prepared in case you only know Fahrenheit, but then you need Celsius. So let's see what happens when we use the formula and learn how to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, so we're gonna do a word problem to help us out. It's kind of funny. Mario tries to swim in lava. However, the lava's temperature is 1,470 degrees Fahrenheit. Find the temperature of the lava in Celsius. So, there's something that we can do to solve this problem super fast and understand it. There is a formula, and the formula is... So here's Fahrenheit to Celsius. When you are trying to convert this into Celsius, you would put your measurement in Fahrenheit right here. Then you'd have to subtract 12, then divide that by 1.8. And that will give you your temperature. T means temperature, and that little letter right next to it is the measurement. So this is Celsius. TF, big T little f is Fahrenheit, big T little c is Celsius. So measurement, subtract by 12, divide by 1.8 is going to bring you to Celsius. So we're going to do that right here. Since we said that it's 1,470 degrees, the temperature of the lava, we need to put it in Celsius. So what we're going to do is put in big T little f is 1,470 degrees. You'll have to use a calculator for this one, because you have to then divide by a decimal after subtracting by 12. So if you did the math by doing this, subtract by this, divide by 1.8, your temperature in Celsius would still be the same idea, but it's still kinda hot. It would be 810 degrees Celsius. So the lava that Mario is trying to swim in is still really hot. And even though it's a lower number, it's still hot because it's the same as this, but we converted it to another measurement. Let's see what happens when Mario does to try to swim in lava. Let's see what happens. Swimming in lava is probably not a good idea. Since we know how to go from Fahrenheit to Celsius, we got that all checked off. But how do we get from Celsius back to Fahrenheit? Well, there is another problem that we're gonna look at. Okay, this time, Mario gets frozen up by swimming in negative 10 degrees Celsius in water. So the water's temperature is negative 10 degrees Celsius. Find the temperature in Fahrenheit. So unlike the last problem, where Mario tried to swim in lava, this time Mario tried to swim in super cold water, really cold water. Unfortunately, he became frozen and couldn't move. So, to find this in Fahrenheit, here's the formula. When you try to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you insert your number in big T little c, like negative 10 degrees Celsius right here. When you multiply by 1.8, then add 32, you get your answer in Fahrenheit. Let's see how cold the water was. So 1.8 times negative 10 is going to be 18. But if we add that by 32, 18 plus 32 is going to be 50 degrees Celsius, but it's going to be negative 50. That is really, really cold water. Mario would get hypothermia. No, he'll freeze if he'll try to swim in that. Let's see what happens when Mario tries to swim in negative 50 degrees Celsius. Woohoo! Just like lava, swimming in frozen water is not really a good idea. So, at least Mario gets to regenerate in the game, because if he never got a chance to, well, that's probably the end of that. So now we know how to go from Celsius back to Fahrenheit. But the question is, how do we get to Celsius to Kelvin? Well, with lava and water, this one's nothing to do with Super Mario. Instead, this one comes from your favorite episodes. Well, probably. Squidward touches the thermostat and changes it to 63 degrees Celsius. Find the temperature into Kelvin. So this kind of problem is actually not possible to do, because if you try to mess up your thermostat at home, which I wouldn't try at home, it's not possible to put it to 63 degrees Celsius. It's not a good idea, and it's impossible. That means your house will get very, very hot. And with Kelvin, the measurement with Kelvin is part of the metric system, just like Celsius, but it's more easier to look at if you're measuring extreme heatness or extreme coldness. Like, the sun right now is, 4,000 degrees not Celsius, 4,000 degrees Kelvin. So that's an example we would use that. Even though this is not physically possible, let's just solve it anyway, just for the laugh of it. So, the formula from Celsius to Kelvin is basically almost like when you go from Celsius to Fahrenheit. When you insert your measurement into Celsius, all you gotta do is add by 273, and there you go. You get your Kelvin. So, 63 plus 273. Let's see what happens. When we do the addition, we get 336 degrees Kelvin. Always expect a super big number when you're doing Kelvin, or a super tiny number with Kelvin. Kelvin is actually a really interesting one, because if you ever heard of 0 degrees below Kelvin, 0K, it's not a possible thing to do. It's not really possible for someone to get to that coldness, because you would have to go like negative 273 degrees Celsius, well, colder than that. Actually, it's around negative 486 degrees Celsius, so it's very, very cold. The coldest we ever tried to get to was a science experiment in 1997. However, we only got to 1.6 degrees Kelvin. We're still not there. Even in space, nothing that we know of right now is 0 degrees Kelvin. It's impossible to get to. And if you're in your chemistry class right now, the reason why people want to get to 0 degrees Kelvin is because cells move everywhere. Like the cells of this notebook, or the molecules of those notebooks, the molecules of this paper, the cells of my skin, the molecules of this TV, whatever it's called. 0 degrees Kelvin means that nothing is moving. So if you put like molecules in 0 degrees Kelvin, it would not move at all. When you have heat, the molecules do kind of move a little bit, but you don't see it, because you need to see it very, very tiny in like a super microscope. So that is how we can understand what Kelvin is and how we can convert from Celsius to Kelvin. This formula is usually used in science experiments the most, and it's usually used in like astronomy and more extreme performances and experiments. And that is how we can learn to calculate and convert temperature. I hope this video has helped you understand how to calculate and convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, Celsius to Fahrenheit, and Celsius to Kelvin. Thank you for watching Topping in Life's Math Industry. Like and subscribe.
Sea crabs, you can't defeat me. Whoa!